with these aspects of the psychoactive plants. I mean, like I was saying, I mean, people, the plants are external, but they're activating something that's internal. And from what I've sort of broken it down to, from my own understanding, and I've talked about this on the show on the past, is that the human body is specifically designed to have a variety of filters functioning 24/7 in order for us to be able to walk through everyday life, in order for us to be able to drive our cars. Yet as soon as we start peeling back these filters, we start to see a more real version of what reality actually looks like. And what reality actually looks like is far more psychedelic than what many of us are commonly used to or commonly aware of. And I think like that is where even working with these psychoactive substances, that's where they're very valuable, because they do sort of just reveal the incredible awe and wonder that this reality already is, yet we commonly sort of overlook because we're so used to seeing it with these filters on. And literally, like, it goes back to the idea that there's no such thing as empty space. And when you start pulling back the filters with some of the substances, and that's actually where I want to take this conversation into, is that how do these different substances actually affect the filters in different ways? I'd be curious to get your guys' responses on that. But I mean, awesome. as you get into that, you realize that with some of these substances, you can actually see like the vibrating energy that is everywhere, or you can see the fractalated tendril of like the sacred geometry that is unfolding light. That from my own experience, when I was in that state, I was like, holy shit, like this is the code of the Matrix, and this is real. Like I'm not quote unquote hallucinating. Like what I'm actually seeing is right in front of me, and it's more real.
Yeah.
And the best and the most exciting part about all of that for me was the fact that it felt familiar. I was like, holy shit, like I already knew this, and here I am.
Home. Like coming home.
Yes. And that ties you in with this spiritual awakening, that it's just like we are more than a physical body. Like we have come from somewhere else. We have given ourselves amnesia, and when we realize that we are more than that, it's so empowering. So again, like for putting the question, how or if you guys are just going on that, I'll just put it out there. You guys know where I'm going with this, but any response on that?
Oh, wow. I want to let Max talk about that. But first, I want to say something. I just want to say how and this is maybe not directly answering your question, but I know Max has something good to say about this, and I want to say it before I forget. But my personal belief is that these plants are they're here for interspecies communication. They're here for communication between the world of the plants and the mammals. The fact that these chemicals interact with our nervous system in such an amazing way, to me, signifies that they had some sort of purpose and they were intended to be used. But that's what I wanted to add. But Max, go ahead. I know you have something to say.
Well, I'm like really focused on where reptiles fit into that situation. But going back, Brendan, I almost want to call you Skull again.
Whatever.
But yeah, I want to call it almost like each plant or teacher sort of has like a language about it, and you're talking about with certain things you can see it's different things, and like people can become more familiar with a specific teaching plant and sort of grow their attunement to it and see further with that thing, and that's, I don't know, I personally am fascinated with cactus, and that's why I go to Peru, and that's why I'm going back to Peru. And for me, it does what you're talking about. It pulls these layers back and allows an interface with a almost like a super reality that seems to be manifestation of metaphysical string theory, yet multi-dimensions coexisting at the same time. And it's almost as if we're stopping looking at reality from a four-dimensional view, second to second, and we become more aware of the fourth dimension and perhaps even beyond it. And so concepts that would require a person time to achieve, time dilation is hugely talked about.
Yeah.
But you can go through life experiences that may not be your own and extrapolate meaning that you may not have lived. And you take this meaning with you, and that's just awesome to me, because it doesn't matter if it's a dream or not. When you enter a dream, you don't all of a sudden say, hey, it's a dream, I'm going to do whatever I want, and like do all sorts of terrible things that are just contraband to real life. You take the moral like compass with you. So even if these experiences aren't necessarily real and you're just drooling in a tent somewhere in the Andes, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to come out of that tent and you're going to have these experiences that augment you as a person and enrich you and give you compassion to others in the species. And it is not only for interspecies communication, it's great for our species communicating. It allows a person to really open up and break down barriers. And that's what I was talking about, how they fit into society and having issues with family, friends, coworkers, things like that. And it allows you to address these malfunctions. Sorry to take it so heavily.
yeah, Max would always tell me when I was fighting with my girlfriend, oh, y'all just need to eat some cactus together.
Yeah. No, I mean, even I think I read it in like a book with Alex Gray. I mean, that was actually a story. Alex Gray, visionary artist. Many of you are familiar with him, or just Google his work if you haven't seen it yet. But part of his story was that like he actually met his wife when both of them were on LSD at a party together. And he said that there's nothing quite like watching the walls melt together to fall in love with another person, sort of thing, which I just thought was sort of beautiful. But I mean, that is a very interesting topic in itself, is like how when two people or more are in a group, how they can bond over a psychedelic experience, and even the idea of specifically getting into conversations where telepathy actually
I want to
occurs.
just throw Shipibo right in there so we have something to focus on. Cultural synesthesia that's experienced by multiple people at the same time. In many different ways, there's examples of this. Now, I assume this is where you're going, was it not, Brendan?
Well, I was just going to talk about being psychic on mushrooms, to be honest. But
let me tell a little anecdote really quickly about Richard Evan Schultes has an account when he was in the Amazon that he did this ceremony with the tribe in the